Okay. I don't want to miss this. I think
Okay.
Diet Jeopardy, I think sounds like an awesome game show. You mentioned HCG, but as you look back in hindsight, like what was the strangest diet you ever found yourself on?
Well, I mean, it might have been HCG because the HCG diet, and look, every single one of these diets was like written by a doctor and it sounds so good. And it was basically they like take HCG, which is pregnancy hormone, and they extract from like the urine of pregnant mares or something. And then they like, you take the shot and then it's supposed to like fool your body into thinking you're pregnant. So your metabolism doesn't slow down on 500 calories a day. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Knowing what
Wow.
I know now, I would like to go back and tell myself, don't do that. But it was written by a doctor and he's sharing the secrets and you get it at a doctor's office. So it sounds
Yeah.
so legit because doctors are giving it to you. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Tons of clinics popped up around here in the Salt Lake City area. And I didn't think it was a great idea to do that, but that was definitely one. Whatever they claimed it was going to do for metabolism, that was definitely one that I have personal experience measuring lots and lots of people, and their metabolic rates completely tanked. I'm talking
yeah.
like
Well, apparently that was a bunch of
hundreds.
crap.
Yeah, yeah,
But that was
not
the theory. The
right.
doctor, Dr. Simeons, look, I know all these things about diets. Dr. Simeons was a doctor that worked in the 50s and he noticed how pregnant women, the body would protect itself. So the baby, even if they were in a famine, the baby would survive. So it like did something different. Anyway, that was the theory. But after doing HCG, that is when my body really, first I did the diet pills, and then I needed the HCG, and then my metabolism tanked. And then
Yeah,
for a few years, I was just like, who cares? So I think without meaning to, I reverse dieted. So
right.
I boosted my metabolism. So when I was
Yeah,
210 pounds and not dieting at all because I'd given up,
yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking if there's no other beneficial thing, it would be that. Like, yeah, you're going to gain a lot of weight by going completely off the diet, but you are
yeah,
going to recover the metabolic rate. You'll start to feel warmer and have more energy, and all that stuff will
exactly.
start to come back, which is,
Yep.
yeah, great. It's one of the best things you could do. Okay, so you write books about fasting, you do
Right.
podcasts about fasting. You wrote Cleanish and kind of stepped away a little bit from the fasting world, still maintaining everything that you were doing. But what did you observe in the fasting world that you identified as a gap that this new book is now ready to fill?
Well, Fast Feast Repeat, when I wrote it, I had the goal to write because I'm a diet book aficionado. I remember all the years prior to people using keto, everyone did Atkins. Remember that? Low
Mm-hmm.
carb was synonymous with Atkins. And I can't tell you how many times I bought Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution in all the different forms. And I actually had more than one edition because I thought low carb was going to work for me. It never did. But and now we know why. But when I wanted to write Fast Feast Repeat, I wanted to write the comprehensive book about intermittent fasting that would stand the test of time. 10 years from now, it would be just as relevant. And it would be the kind of book that people would recommend to their friends. And they're like, well, how did you do it? Here, read this book, Fast Feast Repeat. And I think I did a really good job writing a very comprehensive and complete book. And that is the biggest strength of Fast Feast Repeat, but it's also a weakness because there's so much information in it. If you start on page 1 and read straight through, your brain is going to be so very full. And some people just aren't ready for all that at once. And so there's a chapter in Fast Feast Repeat called the 28-day fast start. It tells you what to do, but people get lost because then they keep reading and then there's all this stuff in there. So I'm like, some people have friends and family members that they want to do intermittent fasting, but they're not going to read Fast Feast Repeat. And I need to have a way to get them just what they need when they need it. So that is why I wrote 28-day fast start day by day, because I realized people really needed that little extra bit of hand holding for the first 28 days. And so that was the teacher in me. I know the school teacher in me said, oops, we need something for the people who need just a little more support. So 28-day fast start day by day was written. I'm great at delivering curriculum. That was my job, and pacing it out in a way that's understandable. So I wrote the book for people, before you even begin, I'm setting up the reader for success. Like, what are the most common problems? The subtitle of the book is The Ultimate Guide for Starting or Restarting Your Intermittent Fasting Lifestyle So It Sticks. Notice that restarting part, because I've realized over the years, there are a lot of people who go over and over and over starting over, right? They start over, then they quit, then they start over, then they quit, then they start over, then they quit. And so I'm trying to plant the seed that this is a lifestyle from day one. And why do people quit? And why are you not going to quit? And part of that also is before they even start fasting at all, they have to craft a really strong why statement. And if your only why is, I want to lose weight as quickly as I can, then you're probably not going to be ready for intermittent fasting. Come back to it when you're ready for something different, because intermittent fasting is an amazing, healthy way to live. But I could tell you 15 ways to lose weight more quickly than intermittent fasting. Of course, they're going to take your metabolism. They're not going to be sustainable. You're going to gain it all back. Intermittent fasting is different than that. But it's not the quickest thing you'll ever do, but it will change your body forever and it will change your life forever. So I want people to start with all in their mind about their why. And, for me, I talked about my dad being a type 2 diabetic. My why today, after watching my dad and his health decline, my why would be different than the why I had in 2014, which was just, I want to wear my size 6 pants. Well, I'm sitting here right now in size 0 pants. I never dreamed I would be wearing size 0 pants that I bought. By the way, the ones I'm wearing right now, I think I bought them in 2016 and they still fit.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Okay. So I have been accustomed to saying that like intermittent fasting for me is like gold standard of what will work for a majority of people, primarily for that weight loss, like we talked about, for different other things as well. I think it's one of the very best things that you can do. I don't think you have to be as picky about your diet when you're on it. I think people do benefit from staying on some type of a diet when they are eating. It seems to work for many people, and I've watched it work for lots of my clients. And it's once you get into it, it's fairly difficult without having that why. The hunger is going to be really tough, or breaking up with foods you think you can't go without will be a little bit challenging. But what are some of the top reasons that people do quit the diet despite having good success with it?
Well, I think it's like the normal reason. I've realized over the past few years how big of a problem actually emotional eating is for people. And people just they'll have a hard season of life and then they just comfort themselves with food. And that has not been something I do necessarily. So that's been like kind of realizing that is such a problem for people has been eye-opening for me. And how do we help people not get into that cycle of emotional eating, and then it never makes you feel better in the long run, right? It gives you that temporary hit in your brain. And so helping people have better coping mechanisms while they're fasting, that's really, really important, because we're all going to have stress in our life, and we've got to figure out how to deal with it. And so the old friend that helped us get through it might have been eating all the time or having snacks. And so sometimes people just go back to what they knew. So that's one reason that people will stop, or they'll go on a vacation or have a holiday season and they're like, oh, intermittent fasting is flexible. I'll just have really, whatever. I'll stop doing it just for this 2-week period. Then I'll jump back on. Well, it's not just quite so easy to jump back on. Because your body has refilled its glycogen stores and now you're having to push through a few hard days. And so that can be a problem as well with people. And another thing that really causes people to quit is watching their friend do something that's working faster. The latest injections that people are doing, the Ozempic and the like. And, they may have a friend that is losing weight super rapidly. And maybe they've been doing intermittent fasting and they're losing at 1 pound a week. And that doesn't look very sexy when your friend is over there dropping weight like crazy. Of course, your friend isn't telling you about the nausea and the whatever else side effects that they're going to go through. And that the minute they stop taking it, the weight's going to come back. So, but that's something that happens all the time, or their friend will be selling a program and they're doing anyway, people are always looking for quick weight loss. And so they have unrealistic expectations. So having realistic expectations of, first of all, what's going to happen for you, how long it's going to take. You might need to clean up your diet and make some changes. And, all those things, it's going to take some effort. It's going to take some discipline and it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. The vacation one, I think, is a really big one. I do see that one all the time where people, they want to go to, kind of chill out when they're going on vacation. They do a cruise or go to an all inclusive in Mexico or whatever. And, few things sneak in, and it's really hard to get them back out when you return home. You get rehabituated to a lot of the, kind
Yeah.
of crappy foods. And I think what most people only remember is the first time they really adapted to this way of living and how difficult it was the first time, without realizing it might be a little bit easier the second time or the third time.
Right.
If you really kind of fallen off, it will be easier to get back on this time,
Yeah.
but
It
you
only
only
takes a few
remember.
days. It
Yeah.
only takes a few days. Your body doesn't lose metabolic flexibility over a week-long cruise, but you're going to be a little sluggish until you deplete your glycogen stores and get back into the rhythm of fasting again. But you can do it. And the thing about it, when you're metabolically flexible and you're consistent with intermittent fasting, it is not hard. It just sounds like it's going to be hard. It's hard at the beginning. It's hard till you adapt. It can be hard. I actually think it's harder emotionally than it is physically, because we're so used to, like I said before, comforting ourselves with food, you know, having a creamy cup of coffee in the morning, it's a ritual. And now Jen's asking me to drink black coffee instead and not put any sweetener in it. And then it just feels like you're suffering. And but the metabolic benefits and the health benefits are so profound that when you really understand the clean fast and what that does for you, you would not trade that for all the creamy coffee in the world.